So we're doing a comic book haul that covers 2 months, June and July of 2025.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and we're looking at the comics I picked up between June and July 2025 in the ongoing comic haul series. Now, the reason why I did June and July together, because, obviously a huge stack, was because July got a little packed schedule-wise. If you didn't check out Superman Week and Fantastic Four Week, did a lot of videos for those two movies' releases, including viewing guides and some comic stuff and toy stuff. Go check those out. Worked really hard on it. Because of that, schedule got a little packed, so I didn't quite get to do a June comic haul. I then looked at what I was planning to purchase in July and went, that's only like 5 books, so let's just do it together at the beginning of August. Let's just put June and July together. It's a little more insane than it looks. There is a bunch of stuff I picked up on sale. There's a bunch of stuff that I, plan for in months. And like I said, I bought a lot in June and then not that much in July, and that kind of balances the budget out. Because June was really heavy for DC for me specifically, and then Marvel threw a couple things in on top of it. So we're going to talk about it. There's all kinds of stuff. If you enjoy these videos, hit the like button, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss out on future uploads. And let's get to it. June and July comic haul. So as always, we're starting with manga. We got Kaiju number 8, volume 13. This series just wrapped. So if you're wanting to get into it, the entire series is out now digitally. And then, of course, the volumes will follow later. This gets us up to chapter 104. The series runs till 129. I love Kaiju number 8, story of a guy who ends up accidentally becoming a kaiju, and he's working within the Defense Force, and, there's like a whole secret identity angle to it. It's got vibes of Ultraman and some superhero stories and lots of great characters. And I love that the volumes use a different character portrait on each of them, so that way, like, when you have all of them together, they look pretty great. Like I said, 13, I think it's going to be like 16 volumes in total to get the rest of the chapters out, but love this series. Its anime just hit its 2nd season as well, which is really, really awesome. But glad we had another volume into the mix. All right, we got Mobile Suit Gundam Kukuru's Doan's Island 4. This was a 5-volume series. I've been waiting for my Barnes & Noble to get volume 5 in. They probably stocked it the day it came out. And, usually with the Gundam mangas at like my Barnes & Noble, they stock 1 copy on launch day and then they'll restock it a few weeks later. So I haven't gotten volume 5 yet. I haven't read any of this. This is basically an expanded adaptation of the Kukuru's Doan's Island episode of the original Gundam series that was never released outside of Japan. It was like banned for poor animation quality. They literally made a movie that takes some elements from this manga, I believe. But yeah, I haven't read any of this yet because I'm just like, they were pumping these volumes out like 1 every other month. So I was like, all right, when I get all 5, I'll binge read all 5. All right, Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt Volume 23. This has been, I think, the longest-running publication of a Gundam manga in North America because Viz has been printing all of Thunderbolt so far with nice color pages and mechanical artwork. Thunderbolt is wacky. It's insane. This gets us to chapter 197. Thunderbolt's pretty nuts, and it does do a lot of stuff within like the Universal Century timeline. It had an anime adaptation that was paused because the story got nuts, and I think they wanted to plan it out. Also, this volume barely has any dialogue. It's all very much atmospheric battle stuff for like most of its runtime. Like there is barely any conversations till like the very end, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, the series is still ongoing. It's only released in the Viz signature format, so like Viz's digital manga platforms don't update with chapters, so I think we're like, a year and a half behind. It's supposed to be coming to an end soon, which I'm kind of excited to see how it all wrap up. All right, moving on over to non-Marvel and DC stuff. This is the MonsterVerse Declassified Kickstarter edition. So for the Godzilla and King Kong MonsterVerse stuff, the Legendary Comics has been doing these like Kickstarter comic editions. And so they did this campaign that was interesting. It was 2 books, one of which is Godzilla x Kong the Hunted, which I got this like I think pretty much a year ago. It is a prequel comic to Godzilla Kong the New Empire. So they got this one out pretty quick. And the hardcover, oversized hardcover edition was exclusive to the Kickstarter, and there was like a retail version that went to bookstores. And then there's this other book called MonsterVerse Declassified, which is an anthology comic of different stories within the MonsterVerse, which is pretty awesome. And this one is pretty great, but it did take a while. And so it's been a long time. I can't remember the exact timeline on this. A lot of Legendary Comics stuff. I do think the quality's good, and that's why I do keep backing them, because they do the MonsterVerse stuff. They did a Frankenstein Dracula set I talked about in the last Blu-ray haul. They've got this Pacific Rim project coming up that's like a 3-volume sequel to the movies. But they haven't released Monsterverse Declassified to retail, and I don't know if they will. I kind of always take this like, get the edition you can, but also I do like the slipcase, and I do like the oversized hardcovers. And it was nice for it to finally show up. It had been a long time coming. It came with some art prints and stuff, which I put into a folder, but it did come with these cool pins that are all New Empire themed. So look at them, they're all cute and stuff. But yeah, this finally showed up from the Kickstarter. Took a little bit longer than I expected, but at least it arrived. Alright, I've been working to get more of Boom Studios' Planet of the Apes comics because they're relatively recent. They're not easy to come by, but they are recent enough that they're not hard to get. This is the After the Fall Omnibus. They did 3 of these paperback omnibuses collecting Planet of the Apes comics. There was 2 for the classic movies, and there's this one for the modern films. So this has all the tie-ins to Rise, Dawn, and War. This actually includes some stuff that was like the Rise of Planet of the Apes comic was a digital comic originally, but it includes all that. Plus it includes the short stories from the When Worlds Collide one-shots that are related to the modern movies. So all the tie-ins to the modern Planet of the Apes movies that Boom produced are all in this single volume, and I was able to get a copy, which I'm glad. It's kind of the easiest one of them to come by because the classic Ape stuff typically does sell better, I think, just because of like the nostalgia base and stuff. But I actually haven't read any of this yet. What I kind of want to do is read them in conjunction with rewatching the movie trilogy. So like, essentially read it in chronological order, like the first Rise comic's a prequel to Rise, so then I'd watch Rise, and etc. So kind of planning to do that, but working on tracking down more of the Planet of the Apes comics as I can. Like Green Lantern and Planet of the Apes. This was a fun comic crossover in the idea. This is a hardcover edition. Found this on a site that I frequent. It was exclusive to CBLDF. Don't have any clue what that is. Even some like comic tracking websites like League of Comic Geeks don't have this listed. But it is, I think, a convention exclusive hardcover, which I managed to get for about $15. This is the Green Lantern Planet of the Apes miniseries, which I thought was all right. I thought I was going to love it because it's like Green Lantern, Planet of the Apes, like, that stuff I love. Some of the characterization on the Apes characters was so off, and some of the story choices that were made meant that I thought it was fine, but I didn't quite love it. I do love these George Perez and Jerry Ordway covers in the back. That's pretty awesome. I like it in premise, not maybe as much as an execution, but it's a nice hardcover edition of it. Yeah, it's been kind of, tracking down some of these. They did a lot of crossovers with Planet of the Apes. There was one with King Kong. I already talked about the Star Trek one, the Green Lantern one. I think there was one other, and I can't exactly remember what it is off the top of my head. But yeah, more Planet of the Apes stuff. All right, over at Image Skybound, we got more Energon Universe Deluxe Edition hardcovers. So this is Void Rivals. Void Rivals is actually the first comic in the Energon Universe that we ever saw. And the reason why it was kind of a big deal was because when they announced it, they're like, okay, it's this story of these 2 characters from 2 different alien species that are rivals. And so they have encountered each other, and they decide not to kill each other and try to work together to escape the moon they're trapped on. And then the part that blew everybody's minds is that when the issue came out, and actually it leaked ahead of time, Jetfire was there. And then they revealed that Skybound has the license to Transformers and G.I. Joe, and the reveal that these 2 people are not as different as they once saw. This is a great comic. If you are a fan of some of the 80s, Transformers and G.I. Joe lore, there's appearances by some more obscure Transformers characters like Skuxoid. Damn, I fumbled on that. Jeez. Skuxoid, a really rare character from the G1 cartoon. And then later on, there starts to be some other characters you might recognize throughout this, like especially if you're an 86 movie fan for Transformers, like Springer's here. And later on in the series, I don't think it's in this volume, but later on they start encountering people from Cobra Law from the G.I. Joe movies. So it's really pulling together as being part of the Energon universe, but the coolest part is that the main 2 characters from Void Rivals are original characters. Their whole planet and species are original characters of this comic, but it is going into like the science, sci-fi, space stuff for the Energon universe, which is really, really cool. There was 2 covers, once again, like they've been doing for all of them. I picked the one with Darak on it because I like him a little bit more than Solia. But yeah, that is the first volume. It's the first 12 issues, plus the Void Rivals story from the Energon Universe 2024 special. And then the other one we got this month was Codename G.I. Joe Book 1. So this is interesting because with G.I. Joe, they didn't launch a G.I. Joe book right away because they're also relaunching Larry Hama's G.I. Joe, and they didn't want to have confusion. They also wanted to set this up a little bit. So what's included in here is 2 miniseries. There's one on Duke, and kind of his story and his setup, and then there's one for Cobra Commander. And these comics rock. So both are written by Joshua Williamson. They set up the characters that will appear in the Joshua Williamson's G.I. Joe run that's now happening. And it's all set up in a lot of ways, but they do have their own contained stories to kind of delve into G.I. Joe and Cobra. And this same format was later used and carried forward into 2 more characters to continue setting things up, and that was Scarlet and Destro. So basically the next volume, Book 2, is going to be Scarlet and Destro. This one was Duke and Cobra Commander. Next one's going to be Scarlet and Destro. This does mean the page count's a little bit lighter because this has 10 issues plus a short story from the Energon Universe special, not 12 like the others have been. But it is still really nice. And I do like they're calling it Codename G.I. Joe because that keeps it consistent. So as I would imagine, Book 1, right, it's Duke and Cobra Commander. Book 2 will be Scarlet and Destro, and then Book 3 will be G.I. Joe proper. So that means if you're reading it in hardcover, it's going to be real consistent and nice and easy. And I did pick the Cobra Commander cover because I've been kind of doing a villains thing, right? Because I got my Starscream edition of Transformers. There's G.I. Joe. And there really isn't a hero and villain edition with the Void Rivals. That's why I picked Darak. And then, so we got the 3 Book 1s right there, looking pretty spectacular on the shelf. Really happy with these. The next one, G.I. Joe 2, is coming out, I think, in like September, October, which is real soon. And then we'll probably have to wait a little bit for the next one. But Transformers Void Rivals will get there, I think, before G.I. Joe, because they're still kind of rolling. But these came out real quick to Deluxe hardcover. Usually, they let them sit and trade longer. So I'm really happy that they're just going straight to Deluxe hardcover like this because everything's selling so well. Because I love these comics, and since I read them in singles, I'd like to go full upgrade instead of going halfway with the trades. Moving on to Marvel, we have Spirits of Vengeance, Vengeance Unchained. So this has been a frustration point for me with Marvel Comics and the way they've been handling Ghost Rider lately. This series, when it started, was advertised as being all the Ghost Riders all the time. About half of this trade is more about vengeance than it is the other Ghost Riders, before really starting to set up kind of crazy stuff. And they were even showing covers like this, where it's like, oh, all the Ghost Riders, Cosmic Ghost Riders here, like what the heck's going on? And it took a while to actually get to that point. And so because of that mismarketing, I think, we got the series axed. This is a 6-issue series. You can see they show Ghost Rider 2099 here on cover 5. He's not in it till cover 6. This is the Marvel mismarketing covers, the put the characters on the cover before they actually appear in the book, get the covers, to be separate from the people actually writing and drawing the book. It's all that. It's all mismarketed because I think the series is fun. It's great. It's really cool. It says to be continued in Spirits of Violence, and time of recording, Spirits of Violence was supposed to have come out like real quick after. Kind of a quick rebrand, restart from number 1, and it only was just announced a couple weeks ago that it's going to be starting up in October when it was originally planned for March, and that was after we got the trade for Spirits of Vengeance. One of the big reasons this book, getting axed like that was a big frustration for me is because we finally got the return of Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider in a mainline story. That wasn't a flashback, and it wasn't just, oh, I'm in the God Quarry, someone come get me. This is like his return, and it's been cut off. Every single storyline in this book is not finished in this book. It is going to be continued in Spirits of Violence. It's supposed to be a 5-issue miniseries, and that has to do a lot of heavy lifting. And maybe the delay was part of that. Maybe the original plan was this, because this usually Marvel Comics nowadays run 10 issues. This one only ran 6. Maybe they had to stop and retool all the plans to make sure the story could finish in just that 5-issue miniseries. But yeah, big frustration. Completely mismarketed book. I think if you're not honest with your audience and then the audience rejects it, then, well, you can't really complain that the audience didn't get it when you didn't tell them exactly what they were getting. I really do like it overall, and Phantasma's cool. She was just in another book called New Champions that got canceled too. Marvel's lack of commitment sucks because I think that if this had kept going, it probably would have recovered well. And I think, honestly, and this is just a personal thing, that, without really knowing publishing details, I think if you're canceling a book before it's had a first trade paperback, you're too short-sighted in your goals as publishing, because single-issue comics, yes, they still exist, yes, sales exist, but more people, I would say, read in trade and digital than they do in single-issue print comics anymore. And that's Marvel's only metric, is single-issue print sales. And that's why a lot of their books just kind of feel half-cooked, because they get cut off before they have a chance to do anything cool. Luckily, this is continuing, but big bummer the way that it all went down, and months of limbo, months of waiting to find out what the heck's going to happen. All right, Chris Claremont, still writing X-Men. Wolverine deep cut here. This is, once again, Chris Claremont coming back to a point in time of his run and doing an expanded story. This trade, I think, is better formatted than some of the others. Like with Wolverine Madripoor Nights, it took place after the issue that had Black Widow, Captain America, and Wolverine together. It was like what happened like right after. Cool stuff. They included the original issue that miniseries is based on at the end. With this one, for Deep Cut, this series takes place between Uncanny X-Men 246 and 251, because Wolverine just kind of disappears for a bit. And so what they do is they give you 256 in the first part, then they give you the Deep Cut miniseries to show what Wolverine was off doing, and then after you get through the whole Deep Cut story, then it has 251. So you have the framing device. You get kind of a, here's where we started, here's where we're going. Most of this miniseries is basically setting up how did Wolverine end up in this situation. And so I think that's cool, but I think that from a historical context, I think it makes sense to not only include those original issues, but also thread them together so it makes it a more clean reading experience. So commending Marvel on that. I think that was a smart call. And then we have Ultraman and Avengers. So the Ultraman comics at Marvel were a big splash, a big deal. And then they just kind of faded away. They had announced Ultraman Avengers. It took, I think, almost 2 years to come out. And then once they actually did release it in singles, it came pretty quick to trade. This was a 4-issue crossover. It's written by Kyle Higgins, Matt Groom, Francesco Manna, and Matt Milla on art. It is what it says. It is Ultraman teaming up with the Avengers. And there's, Spider-Man. And there's, some dimensional portal stuff and some kind of crazy stuff. It is very much connected to Marvel's other Ultraman comics, more so than being connected to the Avengers comics, because the Avengers lineup here is kind of not existent in anything else. But the only bummer is that this crossover seems to be the end, because the crossover ends with everybody singing karaoke. I know that's minor spoilers, but there's no to be continued. There's been no announcement, no solicitation, no teasing of any future volumes or miniseries. Which is kind of a bummer, because we honestly didn't get that much while at Marvel. I decided to bring this in. So we had the Rise of Ultraman miniseries, which, personally speaking, I did not like super well. I thought it was overwritten. I felt like they had to stop and explain every single thing to the audience, which is not really Ultraman's bag. They usually actually just go in and let you figure it out. But anyways, they did that. I thought Trials of Ultraman was great, and I thought Mystery Ultra 7 was fantastic. I thought Ultraman Avengers was just okay. But yeah, it's just kind of a bummer, because essentially what we're looking at is we had, what is this? 5 issues, so that's 10, 15. We didn't even get 20 issues. We got 19 issues of Ultraman. That was it. It would have been nice to have more. I think this could have been an ongoing, would have helped, I think. And also, it's just, I kind of feel like we were just getting started with Mystery of Ultra 7. I felt like the book was really getting its foothold, and then we kind of lost it. Now, another complaint, the spines. So, first of all, Ultraman Avengers has a misprint. This little image of Ultraman is supposed to be on the spine. They misprinted it over here. And then the other thing I have a complaint with is, we always talk about confusion in comics, right? And since they're all miniseries, it can be confusing. I like that they numbered Rise of Ultraman 1, they numbered Trials of Ultraman number 2, and then Mystery Ultra 7, it's a 3rd volume. It doesn't work standalone. They didn't label it 3, and Ultraman Avengers should have been labeled 4. They had the format, it's right there. They kept the spines consistent, like these look great on a shelf, right? Aside from the misprint with the little Ultraman missing. It looks consistent, looks nice, but I would have liked a 3 and a 4. It wouldn't have hurt anything. Mystery of Ultra 7, that trade also took 10 months to come out. Weird stuff happened. I think the deal's done. I think this is over. And I kind of wish that we got more, because I feel like it was just getting started right as it was coming to an end. All right, moving into Epic Collection, we got the Silver Surfer Into the Outer Void. This is Volume 12 for 1995-1996. We're insanely close to finishing the Silver Surfer Classic Era Epics. I think we just need 2 I think we need 2, and we need 2 others, as in we need volume 2 still. This features a silver woman. Is this to tie into Fantastic Four First Steps? I don't know, because it's not Shalabal, it's a bunch of other things. I haven't read anything in this volume yet. I've been reading Silver Surfer in chronological order, which means I keep having to wait for gaps to be filled. This is starting to close a gap. The way they've been doing Silver Surfer lately has been 1 late gap, 1 early gap. Here we go. Here's the list right here. This is the fun part I always forget epics have. The list, which you can't see. There we go. So you see we got 1, we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we got 12, 13, 14. 14 is the end of the original, like, the long-running Silver Surfer ongoing. We never had anything like it since. So any modern, I feel, would come after 14. But anyways, point being, so we're looking at the gaps, right? So we're missing 10 and 11 and 2. And so for 2, it's kind of like, so 2 is weird because 2 is basically just like in between stuff that features Silver Surfer. 1 is like all your early Fantastic Four stories. 3 is where his ongoing starts, where this is like 111 to 122 from. That starts in 3, Freedom. So we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm waiting for 10 and 11 to come out. But the way it's been going is that, like, I think we got 9, and then we got 9, then we got 12. So it's been kind of, or we got 8, then we got 12, because we already had 9. It's just been bouncing back and forth to close the gap. So hopefully in the next, like, year or 2, we're just going to get the last 2 here, get volume 2. I think I'm going to save volume 2 for last, because I think it's got some, more notable creators on it. But I think we're going to fill this little gap, and it'll be nice to just be able to binge the whole thing. I love Silver Surfer. That's why I'm going to read everything, and if I'm going to read everything, I want to read it in order instead of bouncing all over the place. All right, look at me. I bought a second Spider-Man epic. A few months ago, I bought, maybe last year sometime, I bought Kraven's Last Hunt, which was volume 17. I really liked it. Nice Superman homage cover there. Volume 18, of course, is the one that follows after it. I really liked Kraven Last Hunt. It had the Spider-Man Wolverine one shot. It had the Mary Jane wedding. It had Kraven's Last Hunt, which is a pretty famous story. I thought it was great. I was like, oh, I really like this era where Peter's wearing the black costumes. It's a little bit different than your typical Spider-Man stuff. And this volume, being called Venom, obviously, is not only more of the black costume era, not the symbiote, black costume era, because he's wearing a black version of his costume after he got rid of the symbiote. As you can see, it's just normal costume stuff here. And so this volume not only features him returning back to the classic red and blue, but also naturally, as you can imagine, based on the fact that it's called Venom, it does have the debut of Venom. It's in here somewhere. I promise it's in here somewhere. I just don't remember where. But point being, Venom debuts in here. So I thought, yeah, let me get this one, see how I like it, see how it goes. Spider-Man, it's not going to be something I'm going to collect massive amounts of, but this new reprint of 18 was worth it. Everyone's waiting on 16. If we're talking about gaps, let's see, where's Amazing Spider-Man? I think, obviously they're not done with Spider-Man, and they won't be for a while, because the Clone Saga is going to be like 8 volumes or whatever. You can see here we got a lot, but you can see how we have 11, 15, and then 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, like, if they put 16 out, we'd have 15 through 28. So, hopefully they're working on that. But 16 is one that people have been asking for because it also is part of the Black Costume era. So I would probably pick up 16 because it's like the one before Kraven's Last Hunt. So really like this era. Really like this stuff. So I did pick up Spider-Man on Target's Buy 2 Get 1. One of the other books I got was New X-Men Epic Collection 2, New Worlds. I am a pretty big Grant Morrison fan, all things considered. I really like a lot of their work, and I like a lot of X-Men. But 2000's X-Men's real hit or miss for me, and this was the volume I wasn't sure if I was going to get because I've read it all. I didn't like the riot at Xavier's school storyline. I didn't like some of the storyline developments here. This is essentially, it's the middle section of Morrison's run, and I like parts of it, but not a lot of it. This is not really the stuff I liked. I really liked what was in the first volume. I really do like how it ends. Outside of the Magneto stuff being kind of weird, I did like how it ends. I overall like Planet X. I just didn't like this middle volume as much, so I did want to get it on sale, of course, because they are coming out with Volume 3. I figured I am going to at least get all of New X-Men in epics. I will say, $40 cover price for a thin epic like that is rough. They've been doing this because these are just reskinned from the New X-Men Complete collections. But one more of these and I'm done with this era. I've already got Astonishing by John Cassaday. done. So I don't know. At 2000s X-Men, it's going to be hit or miss for me, but I did decide I should at least get the middle volume to kind of complete the set. All right, so we're going to start with the July big old omnibus I picked up from Marvel, which is Agent Venom. The Agent Ven Omnibus, except unlike the Venom omnibuses where they put like Ven Omnibus, they just kept it as Marvel Omnibus. A little boring there, Marvel. Spice it up a little bit if you got the chance. Anyways, Agent Venom is not Eddie Brock. This is Flash Thompson. This is one of my favorite comic characters, honestly, because I really like this era where Flash Thompson was Venom. I won't explain how he got the Venom symbiote, why he's Venom, that sort of thing. But this is such a great comic. And there's a lot of great stuff in this. This is one of the most stacked omnibuses as well. This is all your Agent Venom in one go. You got, his debut in Amazing Spider-Man 654.1. You've got Venom 1 to 42, plus all those little like point something issues, and Venom Space Knight, which is great because for a time Flash left Earth with the Venom symbiote. He got it purified in space on the symbiote homeworld of Clintar, and he was part of the Guardians of the Galaxy for a while. And this also includes the Minimum Carnage crossover because he was major involved in that with Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider. This is a great comic. I can really highly recommend it. The other cool part is that if you're not an omnibus person, they did put the entire thing out in Epic Collections. It's like modern Venom, like I think 4, 5, and 6 or something like that. You can double check the math on your own time. But yeah, they've put all this out in Epic Collection, and the omnibus is just all of it. I had been meaning to pick up the Epics, I just hadn't. And then they announced the omnibus, and I was like, fine, I'm not going to pick up the Epics. I'll just get the omnibus, because for me, I was like, let me just swing for the omnibus because it's going to take up a lot less space on the shelf. So yeah, I also really love Venom Space Knight because I do love Marvel Cosmic stuff. There's like this Panda Bear he has a rivalry with. It's awesome. Marvel Cosmic is great. So it's great. I'm going to do a reread of this. I really do want to go like reading all of this like in order, see if there's anything I missed. Most recently I reread this crossover that had like X-23 and Ghost Rider in it. Super cool. Love this. Love that it's all in one. For me, this works really well. For other people, maybe the Epics work. But yeah, I was like, yep, just going to get myself the Agent Ven Omnibus. And it's probably the one and only modern Spider-Man omnibus, because I have the 2099 omnibuses. And like I said, I'm more casual Spider-Man related characters. But yeah, my favorite Venom stories. Now, the other big-ass omnibus is the one from June, Fantastic Four Doom 2099. Doom should get top billing. Fantastic Four 2099 is only 8 issues. It is not a big enough deal. Anyways, this is Doom 2099. So obviously, same timeline as Spider-Man 2099, that alternate Earth cyberpunk future. I love the 2099 universe. It's like one of my favorite things at Marvel. It's my favorite Marvel alternate universe by far. I have got all the Omnis so far. I loved Spider-Man 2099. It's what got me into it. I didn't love X-Men, loved Ghost Rider, and I am enjoying Doom 2099 a whole lot. I've been reading it. I have not read it in full because it's never been reprinted in full, but here it all is. All 44 issues of Doom, all 8 issues of Fantastic Four, 80 Apocalypse, Fantastic Four 413, which is a crossover with Doom 2099, and the material from some 2099 Unlimited stuff. This series is great. It is really, really cool because the setup here, sorry for bumping the camera, it's a big, heavy book. It's like 1,500 pages. The setup here with this is that when Doctor Doom, normally it's like, okay, here's Spider-Man of 2099. It's Miguel O'Hara. It's not Peter Parker. This is a Doctor Doom who arrives in 2099 and doesn't remember who he is. Is he the original Victor Von Doom traveled to the future? Is he someone else? It's a mystery, and so the whole thing goes through this. They do a lot of great stuff, like Doom as a character is the main lead of the book. There is no Fantastic Four to face him. It's so good, and part of the thing I really like about it is it really leans into the cyberspace stuff before Ghost Rider 2099 really was into the cyberspace stuff, because he was a ghost. He was a digital ghost in a body, but they've leaned into the cyberspace stuff of it. Some really cool stuff. There's a guy that kind of resembles Galactus. It's really cool. It goes in like the corporations and all the good cyberpunk type storylines. And there is a storyline where he becomes president of the United States, which is insane for a lot of reasons. And it affects all the other 2099 books. Only minor quibble I have, and this is purely production reason. There was a crossover between the 2099 books that happened pretty early on, which was called Fall of the Hammer. It was focused around like the new Asgardians and stuff. And so in Fall of the Hammer, it was a crossover between all the current 2099 books. They each had a chapter of it, usual crossover stuff. I'm trying to find what they did here because it's actually important. So in Spider-Man and in X-Men, you get the entire crossover. You get the other issues, you get the Ravage, you get Ravage, you get Spider-Man, you get X-Men, you get Punisher, and you get Doom. You get all the issues of Fall of the Hammer. Now with Doom 2099, because this has 44 issues plus all of, I think I've already passed it, because you have all of the extra material, here we go, all of the extra material for Fantastic Four 2099 put in here, because really where else would it go? They had to axe the other parts of the crossover. So if you want to read the full crossover and you have a Marvel Unlimited subscription, you want to read an Omnibus, you're going to need Spider-Man Volume 1, or you're going to need X-Men, because both of them have the entire thing. For Doom, though, they do give you a text recap about what happens in parts 1 to 3. It includes part 4, and then it gives you a text recap for part 5. So that way, if you're just reading Doom, if you hadn't read that crossover, they do give you text recaps, which I really do appreciate. I love when collected editions do that. So, yeah, it does not have the whole Fall of the Hammer, but there was no way to put it in. You could not cram 4 more issues into this book. This thing is so thick. If they added 4 more issues, this thing would just break. And I'm glad they didn't take Doom stuff out of this to do it, because I think it's important to get all the Doom stuff in here, especially since there's another way to read those other issues. Every comic collector has stuff they buy that they don't like. I'm not an exception. All right, so Avengers Forever Omnibus by Jason Aaron, Javier Garron, and a bunch of other artists. This is the last part of Jason Aaron's Avengers run in oversized hardcover. So they've labeled this an omnibus, whereas the other issues of Jason Aaron's Avengers were done as oversized hardcovers with the spines that kind of match the trades. I have them all. I just put them in a box somewhere. Can't pull them up right now. So this contains a couple different things. First of all, it contains all 15 issues of Avengers Forever, which was a spin-off comic, the Avengers Forever Infinity comic, which was an important tie into that, and then the Avengers Assemble crossover, which includes 63 to 66 of Avengers. And that was not included in the oversized hardcovers, so if you wanted to finish out Jason Aaron's Avengers, here you go. Now, the reason I didn't like this run is because at the first start of it, they're like, oh, Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes, She-Hulk are going to be on the team. 2 very important characters to me, which was great. Avengers Forever then spun off Robbie as a multiverse traveling hero, which I think was neat in concept, except the book was advertised as like a Robbie Reyes lead, and he's kind of not a major character in this, and a lot of these issues are like, let's talk about these weird alternate universe versions. That's totally fine. All right, no problem with that, really, because it's just like he's a vehicle for telling these stories. My issues when it comes down to the Avengers Assemble crossover, they start, this all the big, huge conclusion. It's multiverse stuff. That's not a problem. My issue, and this is spoilers, and I apologize because I just have to talk about this. Remember when I said Robbie Reyes was trapped in the God Quarry? It happens in this book. And the problem I have with it is because you took Robbie Reyes, who was a very grounded character, made him into this huge multiversal being thing, and then put him in this God Quarry, and he's been stuck there for like over 2 years now. And hopefully he gets out in Spirits of Violence, because he's not been able to be used in anything that's not a flashback, which is a real bummer. The other real bummer is the way they drew him in this. They kind of aged him up, and I'm like, who is this man? This ain't Roberto Reyes. Who is this? I don't get it. This is an art flaw. It's not Jason Aaron's fault, but like, there's like this whole thing going on where he's like aging, and it's like I can't recognize him half the time. It's like, who is this? Who is this? This is just some white dude. Like, anyways, I have a problem with how Robbie was ultimately treated. I did not have a problem when the run started. I had a problem by the end of it. Now, because Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider, She-Hulk, 2 important characters, major stuff happens to them in the Jason Aaron run. I have all the deluxe hardcovers. I have this omnibus. But know that I am a responsible adult. I bought this half off. So I did not pay full price. I bought it half off. It completes the collection. It's in there. And now someone at Marvel get Robbie Reyes out of that void. So normally Marvel's big dog in town, but DC, like, cranked stuff out for me in the last couple of months. This was not a new release. This was just on sale. Elseworlds Batman Volume 2. This is the Batman, well, it's known as the Red Rain trilogy, but it starts with Batman Dracula Red Rain, which is a vampire story, and then it goes into the 2 sequels. I had Red Rain. I hadn't read the other 2, and so I finally got them. Very, very crazy gothic stuff. Doug Minch and Kelly Jones. I really like Red Rain. The sequels aren't as good. They kind of fail to capture it, but it does provide an interesting arc for all these characters. Gets a little sad, but yeah, Elseworlds Batman Volume 2 is just basically like, here's the vampire story, so sold. All right, current books. Green Lantern, Power of Will is Volume 3 of the Jeremy Adams run that started with Dawn of DC. This does have, I love how they put Absolute Power tie-in on the back in a little corner because they're embarrassed about how terrible that miniseries was. Absolute Power, probably the worst DC event in recent memory. It's really bad, but I'm not talking about Absolute Power. Let's talk about Green Lantern. So, this what it collects section is so chaotic. Collects stories from Green Lantern 4 to 7, 13 to 15, Absolute Power Task Force 3, and then also includes the 0 Hour 30th Anniversary Special. Okay, so I need to explain like what's going on here, because like, you know, anybody reading this probably like, what are you talking about? All right, so first things first, this has the Absolute Power tie-in issues for Green Lantern 13 through 15. So that's all it's like of the main issues. Now, you're probably like, why does it say it includes stuff from 4 to 7? It also includes some of the segments from Absolute Power Task Force 7, because that featured important story bits. Because for some reason, not a single part of Absolute Power makes sense without reading something else from a completely different series. Poorly structured. Anyways, so you get the main issues of Green Lantern. Now, the early parts of the Green Lantern comic, they were doing backup stories. So you get the backup stories of the issues that were not the main, Absolute Power tie-ins. It even says, like, go read Absolute Power. And then it has, like, the Green Lantern War Journal epilogue, which is also in the second volume of War Journal, which is good. Then you have the backup stories for Sinister Sons. The son of Sinestro, son of Zod, teaming up. It was trying to be a Super Sons thing. This little backup series continued into a Sinister Sons 6-issue miniseries, which I think failed so spectacularly that they didn't even release a trade paperback for that. So the fact that, I think these stories were meant to be in a Sinister Sons trade paperback as instead of a Green Lantern trade, because they really don't have much to do with this volume. But they had to put them in here because there's no Sinister Sons trade. And then you got 0 Hour 30th Anniversary Special, which is a throwback to the 0 Hour event. Of course, that was very Barry Allen themed, Kyle Rayner themed. I thought this was really cool. It's kind of a nice anniversary, like anthology, kind of taking you back to the 0 Hour days, and that's included as well. This volume, it is volume 3, so if you are reading Jeremy Adams' Green Lantern run, it is, part of it. I would say, though, it is kind of a weird little catch-up volume. So if you were wanting to skip a volume of Green Lantern, this is probably the most skippable, because it's Absolute Power tie-ins, it's a War Journal epilogue that's already in War Journal, it's the Sinister Sons lead-in that doesn't have another trade to go with, and it's the 0 Hour one-shot. It's basically all the stuff related to Green Lantern before they relaunch, like, it's kind of not relaunch because the numbering's the same, soft relaunch with the Green Lantern Civil Corps special that spun off into the Green Lantern Corps special. More on that in a few months when I get those trades. This is just like a gap filler. It's like, let's just get all the other stuff that hadn't been collected in the first 2 volumes out into this third one, and let's move on. It is fun because Hal doesn't have his ring for the Absolute Power tie-ins, but yeah, if you're not super into the Absolute Power stuff, you could easily skip this and just go on to volume 4. Honestly, it doesn't have too much. It's just kind of a completionist volume. What's not skippable is Birds of Prey Volume 3, Bird Undercover. Kelly Thompson's Birds of Prey run, just fantastic. It's really dang good. They do a lot of fun undercover stuff in this volume. They're trying to get people back from their team. It's great. I love this comic. It's just been stellar month after month. No slowing down, it seems, which is really great. But yeah, it's Volume 3. It contains 14 to 19 of Birds of Prey. No complaints, just great comic. All right, we got Booster Gold Complete Series Book 2. I think I just waited on this. I don't think I waited for a sale. I was just like, oh, I'll just get it later. This is Booster Gold 15 to 31 and Brave and the Bold 23. This is all Dan Jurgens' stuff. So I love the way they've kind of broken this down. So I'm going to bring in Volume 1, just because I don't think I ever talked about it. Booster Gold in 2007 got his own ongoing again, which has been a while. Jeff Johns started writing it, and Dan Jurgens started doing some backup stuff. all the Jeff Johns stuff in book 1, all the Dan Jurgens stuff in book 2. The book 3 that just got announced that'll wrap out the series, that has everything by the next writer, which I can't remember who it is. I think Dan Jurgens came back. But basically, it's going to be 3 books, and you get the whole series. I think it ran to like 46, so I think Volume 3 might be a little lighter unless they throw in some of the stuff, but it is coming. The interesting part here is the spines connect. So you got, nice lined up, Booster Gold, Complete 2007 series, and then the actual logo. I'm really curious what Volume 3 is going to be, because it feels like, they could have made these books thicker and then split them in half so that the logo would go across, but I'm really curious to see what Volume 3 will look like now. But yeah, it's really cool that the way they lined them up like that. And the only difference is the DC logo changed. I do miss this DC logo for one reason, and we'll talk about this more in a bit. The new DC logo has to be like blue or white on everything, whereas the previous DC logo, they changed the color, like it's gold to match Booster Gold. But overall, that looks pretty nice and consistent. Now, because Dan Jurgens is the creator of Booster Gold, this volume I feel is way stronger than this first one. I think this first one's good. The second one is great. Really love it. So highly recommend it. I do wish we had a different cover. No offense to this woman in her Booster Gold fan club t-shirt. There's just a lot of great issue covers that I would have used. Like that one's pretty good. There's a lot of great stuff. There's Blue Beetle fans. They got a lot of Ted Cord related stuff. A lot of Jaime Reyes. He shows up for some things. This volume also does this really cool thing where Booster is traveling through DC history, and he's sort of trying to prevent certain things from happening or cause certain things to happen. Really cool if you're a big DC nerd as well. Great series. Love Booster Gold. Time travel shenanigans, but it works really well. All right, this is the third book in my Target Buy 2 Get 1, JLA Book 2. So this is interesting because they've been reprinting JLA, which most famously written by Grant Morrison, which I just realized 2 out of my 3 books from the Target thing was Grant Morrison. Anyways, Grant Morrison's work is famous. They had done JLA paperbacks that was JLA by Grant Morrison, but these are JLA book volumes, so you can see thick book, $50 cover price on these. This is JLA 10 to 23, Annual 2, Secret Files and Origins 2, World Without Grown-Ups 1 to 2, and New Year's Evil Prometheus. These are not collecting based on did Grant Morrison write this. These are collecting based on is the JLA in these issues. And so basically it's a complete collection of JLA from this era. It would have been something that you think DC Finest would have done, but they've been doing it. They started it. We've gotten basically one a year because we got book 1 last year, which these have new covers too, which I think is great. They got new covers for them, which Howard Porter did the covers, and then new spines as well. Look at that. So you can see we got Superman on Volume 1, Wonder Woman on Volume 2. Book 3's coming. I think they're doing about one a year. I'm going to try to keep up with them because I have some gaps in other DC trade volumes because they go out of print sometimes. And consistency, pretty nice because the DC logo is white on both of these. So I think it looks really, really good. I'm just doing this for my own sake because I hadn't put these books next to each other. I was curious. But yeah, another great little, not little, pretty thick. They're like 550, almost 600 pages at times. Thick volume of JLA. Speaking of thick paperbacks, Dr. Fate by J.M. DeMatteis. So happy about this. All right, so Sean McManus and Keith Giffen do artwork on this as well. And I think Keith Giffen did some writing. Dr. Fate, very underutilized DC character, very heavily underutilized in the reprint zone. This is the first time J.M. DeMatteis' Dr. Fate series has been reprinted ever, and it's all in this one thick paperback. It's not a compendium, despite the $60 price tag and the fact that it's actually more pages than the Batman Beyond compendium. It's not a complete collection. It's not a DC Finest. It's just Dr. Fate by J.M. DeMatteis. Whatever. I don't really care how you title it. I'm just happy we got it. So we get the 4-issue Dr. Fate miniseries from 87, and then the ongoing 24-issue and 1 annual. Now, that series did continue after DeMatteis was done with it, so there could be another thick trade like this to kind of round out the next batch of it, and I hope that happens. This is a fascinating book. So what's really cool is they did get DeMatteis to write a introduction, which I think is awesome. And he talks about in the introduction how it was kind of weird because it was a DC character and he felt like he was writing an indie book because he just could do whatever he wanted, basically, which, considering Dr. Fate was on the Justice League International at the time, was kind of wild. But this miniseries is great because it establishes a new status quo where Dr. Fate's host, Kent Nelson, something happens to him, and that causes Dr. Fate to need a new host body. And through a lot of crazy stuff, he ends up picking 2 people. And so Dr. Fate now is two people fusing together to become Dr. Fate. Kind of like Ultraman Ace, if you're familiar with Japanese tokusatsu. Very crazy stuff goes down from here. Lots of storylines, unpredictable twists and turns, metaphysical, like, spiritual stories, and crazy, like, demons and monsters and all kinds of stuff. Like, that introduction kind of set it up as, like, you can't predict this book because it's going to get crazy. And reading through it all is just fantastic. It's really good. There's storylines that Darkseid's involved, Deadman gets involved, Phantom Stranger, the Justice League International shows up. It is a wild ride. It is not going to be everybody's cup of tea because it gets incredibly weird and zany and, like, you know, again, metaphysical a lot. But yeah, to finally get this series reprinted is fantastic. Can't recommend it enough if you like crazy, wild magic storylines. All right, let's move into DC Finest. DC hit me twice in June. We got Batman, The Killing Joke, and Other Stories. This is the second Batman post-crisis volume. This is 87 to 88. It does contain, of course, The Killing Joke. I would have titled it Son of the Demon, because I think that's a better comic. I'm not a big fan of The Killing Joke, personally, but it is an important storyline, and this is continuing their chronological collections of including not only issues of Batman, but issues of Detective Comics and any graphic novels and one-shots that go in it. Love the way these are mapped. Now, I do want to talk about something with Killing Joke, but I can't flip through it. Killing Joke is a very mature comic. Here, look at the Batman Year One cover while I flip through this. So basically, one of the things we talked about with Batman Year One is it actually was using the original colors for the comic, which was surprising because a lot of modern reprints of Year One would use the retouched digital colors, which I'm not a big fan of. I like to have original colors if I can. So the question became for Killing Joke, which has the same thing. You know, you could get the original colors, I think, if you got the Absolute Edition of Killing Joke, but the question became, did we have the original colors? And this was, you know, because again, I say I don't like Killing Joke that much. However, if I'm going to read Killing Joke, I want to read it like this. The modern colors for Killing Joke completely just take a realistic approach. The original colors for Killing Joke have these psychedelic colors that relate to the story and the psychology of the characters, and it's so unique and interesting, and I don't know why you would go with a realistic color palette on this story. It takes away from it, in my opinion. And so I don't like the retouched colors, so I'm very happy that the version of Killing Joke that's staying in my library, which is a part of a volume of a lot of other great Batman stories, is going to be the original colors. Really, really happy with that. Really happy that's a consistent thing with DC Finest, and I hope that continues going forward. Also love the spines. The spines look fantastic. This is the first two sequential volumes that I've gotten. So you can see 86, 87, 87, 88. Two different images of Batman. Really do like that. Really love the way that the spines look for DC Finest. This and Other Stories thing just kind of bugs me a little bit because, like, why isn't it just like The Killing Joke and the Son of the Demon? Like how it was Batman Year 1 and Year 1 and 2. Because you don't want to call this book Batman Year 1. That'll confuse all the other Batman reprints. Same with Batman The Killing Joke, right? But then the DC Finest for Death in the Family is just called Batman Death in the Family. So, I don't know. This and Other Stories feels tacky to me. I don't know why. I just never liked that. But anyways. Point being, you got two volumes of Batman. You can't go wrong with this for me because I really do love post-crisis Batman. So, yeah. Total win on my part. The other one we got was Catwoman Vengeance and Vindication. Speaking of Vindication, really do like this run. A lot of people have been checking it out again and enjoying it. I do like some of the earlier stuff with Mary Jo Duffy writing. This is the Chuck Dixon era of 90s Catwoman. You know, boob socks and all. This suit is famous. This book is still well written, though. This continues. Jim Balent is still doing artwork, which I think is why we always call it the Jim Balent run, because he really was the more consistent person. You'd have other writers coming in, but Jim Balent would be doing a lot of it. There is some crossover stuff. This is Catwoman 0 for 0 Hour tie-in, 13 to 32, Catwoman Annual 2, Batman Shadow of the Bat 43 to 44, and a story from Showcase 95. Great stuff. I think I talked about it. I really loved the first volume of Catwoman because it had this Catwoman miniseries in the 80s I'd never read. That was really great. So I'm glad to have more Catwoman sequentially. Because as you can see, we got 88 to 94 and then 94 to 96. So continuing that story, great to see. Looking forward to getting another volume of Catwoman. Since, they seem to follow up most of the DC Finest they started. This is the second Catwoman. Love to see a third one because I think I think this series ran like 100 issues, so it's going to take a few more volumes to finish it out. All right, Milestone Compendium 4. When I said DC loaded up with specifically the stuff I like, I meant it. We still got like an Omnibus and 2 Deluxe editions to talk about. Milestone Comics. So Milestone Comics, most famous for Static. Obviously, I think everybody that knows their deeper DC stuff or lived in the 2000s watching cartoons. Static, known. Icon and Rocket, pretty prominent. Hardware, also known. Shadow Cabinet, not so much. Blood Syndicate, a little bit. Basically, Milestone Comics, the main goal was to make comics for people of color by people of color. Because characters, and particularly black characters, were not in books or they weren't well represented in books. So the 4 creators of Milestone went and made their own company, and then they got a publishing deal with DC. Recently, Milestone did come back, and as part of that, they've been reprinting the original Milestone comics, which has been great, because I never had a chance to read any of these. I was too young for the era, as in I wasn't born until, I think I was alive for like maybe 2 years before Milestone ended up collapsing. Anyways, these compendiums have been great, because they're not just based on one character, they're the entire Milestone universe in an approximate, pretty good reading order. This one is the Long Hot Summer, which was a big crossover event. I'm not going to read the titles of everything included, but you get a little bit of everything at the time. This is great. I love these volumes. They're big, thick paperbacks, which is nice. They're a little bit easier to read than an omnibus. $60 cover price, not bad, considering all you get. And I've been reading through this. I'm not all the way through it yet. As you can see, I'm just part of the way into it. But the Long Hot Summer storyline is basically about the gentrification of a neighborhood and how that can all go wrong. And so I think that's really cool. Lots of great stuff, lots of great interplay with characters. The artwork is stellar. They used a painting process a lot of the times because what they wanted to do was they wanted to make sure that characters of color, that's not Luke Cage, just so everyone knows. Characters of color would be represented with multiple skin tones, not just the same skin tone in every single book. Milestone Comics was pioneering in a lot of that, and it's nice to see them get celebrated. So, these collections are great. There is only one more volume needed, and we'll have the entirety of the original Milestone universe. I mapped it out page count-wise. I think they can also include the Milestone appearances from the 2000s in DC before the Milestone Returns relaunch. That was a couple years ago. So, that's great. One nitpick. I'm going to bring in Volume 3. So, DC, like I said, changed their logo, right? So there's the DC logo difference. Minor complaint. This had a nice, this in volume 1 to 3, nice matte finish cover. Really nice matte finish color. You can, pretty substantial cardstock, nice paper quality, no problems. Glossy cover. Feels like a downgrade. I don't know why. The glossy cover not only is inconsistent, feels like a bit of a downgrade. And then for spines, this is the part I don't like. So remember how I said this DC logo can either be white or blue, it seems, and not any other colors? I'm just going to bring this down, start trying to lift these books. Yeah, all the DC logos on volumes 1 to 3 were red DC logos. Now we have a white. I just wish, why is this not red? It would have been fine. The logo change doesn't bother me. The white instead of the red does. And also, yeah, just the glossy cover versus the matte cover. I do give credit where credit is due. The first volume had, I think, Icon and Rocket, second Static, third Hardware, and then the fourth has Blood Syndicate. So I imagine the fifth will have Shadow Cabinet. That kind of makes most sense to me. These are great. Now, if you're wanting to read Milestone, but you don't want to read everything, Static is getting a DC Finest volume in a couple months. It's got the first chunk of his series. So keep an eye out. I love Milestone. They aren't DC characters. Always remember, everybody in these books are Milestone characters. They just happen to publish with DC and sometimes cross over into their universe. The Spectre, Wrath of the Spectre Omnibus. Now, this is a reprint or reedition because it's got the new logos and stuff. Was so excited when they reprinted this because I missed it the first time. So, this is the Wrath of the Spectre. Really cool cover work here because you got some parts are glossy, some parts are matte, which just adds like a really cool finish to it. This is not a hugely thick omnibus. In fact, if you don't like omnibus prices, there's a Spectre DC Finest coming out that has like most of this book. I think it just doesn't include the last few issues, which would probably be in the next one. So if you don't want to do the $100 cover price, you could get like the nice $40 cover price DC Finest, and you'll get most of this omnibus. I think there's actually 2 issues in that Finest that aren't in this omnibus. Basically, the idea is this is all the Silver Age reappearances of the Spectre, since he was a Golden Age character. This was the fastest I've ever read an omnibus, I think. I went, and I know it's not like a super thick one, but I read through this so quick because it's so good. All right, so let me just get to the basics. So you have all these kind of earlier appearances where you've got, like, he shows up in Showcase, shows up in Brave and the Bold. It's when we get to the Spectre #1 by Gardner Fox that things really, really pick up. Like, it really starts to get into some crazy Silver Age adventures, and then also just some crazy, like, horror stuff. Really crazy things. There's this great kind of dynamic that I'm not used to seeing, where it's like Jim Corrigan is the host for the Spectre, but they're kind of buddy-buddy. They can talk to each other. They're not like two sides of the same coin. Also, there was a giant T-Rex. Look at that. It's freaking great. They're kind of like buddy-buddy, and they have to like work together. And then there's like a little bit of an arc where like Jim Corrigan starts to realize what the Spectre is doing when he's not inside his body. Kind of basically it's like the Spectre would leave Corrigan's body and, you know, go into the astral plane and do stuff without him. And so there's a bit of a friction and struggle with that. Then there's a bit of a gap in time publishing-wise, and then we come back to, you know, some adventure comic storylines. And then eventually these start to get darker, more serious. We start to see the version of the Spectre you used to from animation and stuff, like Jim Corrigan and the Spectre being two sides of the same coin, the secret identity and the one that does vengeance. And starts getting into some more body horror stuff, getting some crazy things. If you've seen the what is it, the DC Showcase the Spectre short, it's based on this era, which is the Jim Aparo, Michael Fleischer era, which was in through Adventure Comics, and then later they reprinted it as The Wrath of the Spectre, and they included some of the stories that were originally cut from that. That's not Clark Kent, by the way. That's some other guy. But anyways, this is a lot of, and then now that's Clark Kent. Anyways, there's a lot of great stuff. It wraps up with some like kind of cool crossover stuff, but the important part is the Michael Fleischer, Jim Aparo stuff is in the DC Finest. And so I think that the Gardner Fox series, great. I think it's great Silver Age stuff. It's really fun. The Jim Aparo era of stuff is just like, oh my God, the artwork, the horror, the storytelling, it's really excellent. So if you're going to get it, you know, you have two options right now. Either one's great because you're getting that main bulk of it, which is the Gardner Fox and the Michael Fleischer, Jim Aparo stuff. And Neil Adams does some art in here too. But if you're going to get the Omnibus, it's great. Highly recommended. If you're going to get the DC Finest, highly recommended. Love the Spectre, and it's great stuff. And the fact that this is the only Spectre Omnibus we've had for years, and we're getting another one because they're doing the Ostrander and Tom Mandrake run, is just so great. I love DC's horror characters. More of it, please. All right, here we got Final Crisis Legion of Three Worlds, the Deluxe Edition, with a big old Superman slapped on the top of it because there was a movie this year. This book is officially not Superman Final Crisis Legion of Three Worlds. It's officially just that part. So this is funny because usually when we do crossover tie-ins, like event tie-ins, they may be good, they may be celebrated, but they're not loved enough to get their own standalone deluxe edition. Final Crisis Legion of Three Worlds is, because for Legion of Superheroes fans, this is like a dream come true. You have George Perez drawing three different eras of the Legion, working together. You got like kind of your classic original Legion, you got your 90s sort of Legion, you got your modern Legion working together. Superman is a major character in this. I wouldn't call him the main character though. This is a Legion of Superheroes book. And I think because of this George Perez artwork, this is why it got a deluxe edition. It's so significant. Also because one of the guys they fight in this is Superboy Prime. That's the tie-in to Final Crisis at that point. And for me, personally speaking, I feel like Superboy Prime's character met a fitting end of his story at the end of Legion of Three Worlds. I felt like he really it was the end of his arc, and everything they've done since has not been as interesting with him. And I just saw recently they brought him back again. I'm like, nothing has been as interesting as what they did with Legion of Three Worlds. So as a Legion fan, I love it. I think it's pretty solid. It's great. I think, this is awesome. You get sketches in the back. You get a making of, which has like the pitch, it has the scripts, it has, the sketch artwork. And one of my favorite things is that Jeff Johns, who was the writer on this, did write a foreword that is a tribute to George Perez. It's George Perez foreword. This is actually a Scott Koblish one. There's a Scott Koblish one, and there's a Jeff Johns one. Both of them are great tributes. It feels like this deluxe edition happened as a tribute to George Perez and his legacy drawing DC characters. And I'm so glad it happened, because I really like this. I like this more than Final Crisis. I have really enjoyed this. This is like one of my favorite DC miniseries, and I'm so happy to have it in a deluxe edition now, because that's some love for the Legion we don't normally see. Just like the Legion of Superheroes The Curse Deluxe Edition reprint. So I mentioned in the last comic haul, I think it was the last one, the Great Darkness Saga Deluxe Edition had gotten reprinted, which was great because I didn't have it. I just had the paperback. Same thing with The Curse. I didn't have the paperback. I have like 85% of this in singles because I couldn't even find the paperback edition of The Curse. It's been a big gap, and so they announced the reprint of Great Darkness Saga, and I was like, great. And they announced the reprint of The Curse, and I was like, thank you. So what is this? This is Paul Levitt's Keith Giffen era Legion. It's Legion of Superheroes. This is everything that is after Great Darkness Saga before the 1984 relaunch, which started from issue 1. This series' numbering would continue to Tales of Legion of Superheroes, which would be original stories for a bit, and then would go into being reprint stories. And those original stories kind of overlap with the 80s series, which the 80s series has never been properly collected, so I could totally see them doing that. Now that we've kind of done a reprint, like, you know, maybe let's do an omnibus for the 80s series that would include Tales and Legion. This is a crazy collection of stories. It's not exactly like Great Darkness Saga is kind of one big arc. This is more just kind of grab bag. It's like, this is the stuff that happens after. The reference to the curse in the title, though, is the curse that comes from the Great Darkness Saga. So these pair together really well. You know, some people might say, why didn't they just reprint this as an omnibus? They totally could have. They totally could have. But, you know, personally, I'm like, when it comes to deluxe edition versus omnibus, it's the same to me, you know, like, it's just two different names. Like, if it's shorter, it's a deluxe edition. If it's longer, it's an omnibus. It's the same size. It's the same, you know, idea. And especially with books like these, which are just throw in all the issues, don't worry about it. I don't need an omnibus with this. It would be nice for the people that want omnibuses, but I'm good with these deluxe editions being reprinted. They did change the spines up, I think, is what I heard, but I don't have any comparison shot. I do like we have Superboy and Supergirl on the spine. Love the Legion of Superheroes. Love this era. Nice to get this gap filled. At this point in time, they have been reprinting a lot of Legion Omnis and deluxe editions, and I currently have all the hardcovers of the recent era. I've got all the oversized hardcovers between Omni and Deluxe. I've got the standard size hardcovers they did for the Superboy and Legion era that was right before the Great Darkness Saga. I'm ready for something new, DC. Keep doing the reprints because it's good for people to have those options, but I'm like, when's the next big deluxe edition or omnibus for Legion of Superheroes? Because I've got all my gaps filled. Let's get something new going on. I'm real excited, though, the fact that we've gotten so many Legion reprints lately. The fact I got 2 Legion books in 1 month haul is pretty awesome. You know, between DC going crazy with new books and some pretty good sales I picked up, pretty eventful couple months. A lot of this was June. The July books was Agent Venom, the 3 books I picked up on the buy 2 get 1, and then a couple of the manga volumes, and pretty much everything else was June. It was a heavy June, but good deals, older stuff, lots of great stuff. I'm going to stop talking because this probably ran long. This looks like a lot of books. It really does. I'm like looking at it now and I'm just like, there's a lot of books in one video. So if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss out. The August one's not going to be this large, I guarantee you. There's not going to be any of these suckers. 2 of those, like back-to-back, was a little rough, but, you know, now there's not going to be any of those for like a couple months, I think. So stay tuned. Hit the like button. Hit the comments. Tell me about stuff. Tell me how your day's going. Kind of easy stuff like that. If you want to continue the conversation, join our Discord server in the link below. You can also join as a channel member, get perks like early access to videos. Let's give some special shout-outs to those channel members. Special shout-out to our channel member Captain Tiers, Spin-54, MasterBin95, Forever1000, Super Shaddix Boom, Mr. Smelly Potato, Jamie's World, Jamie Harper, Mars the Star Droid, Patty, Common Spidey, Liam Peterson, Common Jojo, Mohammed Dap, Josh Frisch, K-Floss, Gokai Gamer, Michael, Koopaman, Doge9789, LFIV, and Matcha's Dent. Thank you to members and viewers alike for your support of this channel. If you so wish, I'm on social media on Blue Sky and Letterboxd at Soundout12. You can find my awesome graphic designer on social media and Discord at DarkClaw643. And you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for comic reviews and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying, see you in the next haul.